comprehensive re-regulation. Wipe out derivatives, ban hedge funds, ban adjustable rate mortgages, re-regulate the stock market, no naked shorting.
I agree with you on that.
How do you do that? How do we do
It needs, yeah.
All right, hold on.
I had 4 points, yes, but
That's financial.
I'm trying to moderate here, Webster.
second
So let's let Webster have the 4
Okay.
points, all right?
the second point is the big one. Nationalize the Federal Reserve. 1% or less credit for productive activity only. Production is the way out of depression. Agricultural and industrial production, construction, infrastructure building, and so forth. Start things like every metropolitan area gets a modern, attractive urban mass transit system. Transcontinental maglev railway for rural America. In other words, if you're concerned about carbon, let's take half the cars off the road in commuter times by building attractive, modern mass transit. You got to rebuild water systems, electrical grids, school systems, hospital. We have a 1,000 hospital deficit in the United States. The living standard in this country is down 2/3. It's minus 60% from the time of Johnson. So start a comprehensive program of reconstruction. The third point is federal emergency relief. We're going to need Federal Emergency Relief Agency, PWA, WPA, CWA, all the Harry Hopkins programs. This winter, LIHEAP, pay up unemployment benefits, pay up all the food stamp programs, all the rest of this stuff. The fourth point, the Bretton Woods Conference to restart international trade on the basis of delivering high technology capital goods to the third world, in particular Africa, South Asia. That would be the main 4-point program to fight the depression. If you embrace the establishment at this point, you're essentially annihilating yourself and joining them in nothingness.
I'd also like to respond to that, too.
Yeah.
There are many different styles of communication, and part of the vow of nonviolence is also looking at your communication style. If you're an activist seeking to build a movement, you've got to look at what is perhaps too combative or too violent communication style. There's a really good West Coast academic named Jens Savenia who writes lucidly about Hegel. And he says that Hegel's logic invites us to get away from the Aristotelian argument styles, which are all about A against B. And Jens Savenia asks us through Hegel to embrace a Hegelian style of understanding the way intellectual confrontations can happen, could happen. And he says it's the opposite of an Aristotelian, which I would say, which is modeled on militarist conflict example. The Hegelian style is to, instead of be against your opponent and be just trying to defeat your opponent, or like Lenin said, we must destroy them utterly, in a debate. Well, the true Hegelian style is to see your opponent's argument as simply the underdeveloped version of your own. So we're all developing, and we're all going through, trying to hybridize and absorb different influences and grow. So it's a little bit more empathetic to try to, instead of Gandhi said, we have to stop seeing the other as our enemy. This was really radical, because if you see the opposition as enemy, you dehumanize them. But Gandhi tried to say we can actually create faster, real social change by realizing that the so-called enemy is just really this underdeveloped person, that their argument is the underdeveloped version of our own. And if you get away from stereotyping, you get away from hate, like you mentioned, Webster, and it opens up the possibilities. It opens up more revolutionary possibilities, because Gandhi and King showed that you can actually change things. With the media exposure, with the cops suddenly refusing to turn hoses and dogs on protesters, you can actually melt the heart of this person that you used to demonize as your enemy. So a little bit of Hegel, a little bit of Gandhi, I think, helps sweeten the pot. Yes?
Can I add something to what you just said?
Sure.
I think if we focus on more of fighting terrorism to embracing peace, or fighting war instead of saying something negative, because when you say something and you think it really affects the energy of the whole universe. And I think instead of saying fighting, like racism, it's say something positive. Like if instead of going to anti-war movement, go to a peace movement, right? And Mary Teresa said that. She said, I would not go to an anti-war movement, but I would go to a peace movement.
Right.
So start to think more what you want, more positive than more defeat, fight, all this, all these negative words, use more positive words like embrace freedom and peace and all this.
Yeah, and I find myself in a really contradictory position, but I like it anyway. Being this person who's, with this alternate article and this idea about the social venture fund, it's an experiment. Gandhi said, engage in experiments in peace and truth, and don't be married to the outcomes. You don't know how it's going to work out. I don't know how it's going to work out. I can't control the future. Nobody can. So just engage in experiments in peace and truth, and be open to however it's going to work out. So this thing about green venture capital or social capital is an experiment. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I find myself actually now not having to see the Geithners and the Paul Adolf Volckers as my enemy. And I'm actually, I'm somebody who's not a Ford Foundation baby because I run a company. I run a fair trade, a good company. It's all about community empowerment and coffee and author events and live events. But it's a for-profit company too. So I'm like trying to be a good progressive in some ways who can also take this economic proposal and say like, how evil are you guys really in the Democratic Party? Isn't this something that we could work with? I know you're cackling over here, and I know it's
very evil.
I'm sorry to say, I think Mia should be introduced professionally because she's a great person and she's done a lot. And she's here from her hometown in Townhouse.
That's right. Mia drove up to Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, get out of here.
Or manifesto.
Well, I've been thinking, just as we go around my head, I haven't been able to develop it yet, but I was thinking, one of the big complaints we have is that the corporations are bound to have a profit and so on and so forth. Would it not be possible for us to create a new entity that would replace the corporation and that people would feel comfortable investing in, that instead of having profit as the primary motive, would have some other primary motive, like social justice or...
You're totally right.
You know what I mean?
There already is a movement growing called social ventures or SRI, socially responsible investing, and there's already mutual funds that are dedicated. Whether or not they're all investing in SRI is up for a topic of debate, and they're definitely up for criticism. But there's a huge shift going on. I mean, overall, in terms of mega trends, or even in terms of like, if you study the astrological calendar, there's like a gigantic shift going on, and we are entering a new kind of time, a new kind of eon. I mean, you see it from the differences between the pre-baby boomer generation and the baby boomer generation. You see it in the vast differences between that generation and my generation. We're getting more and more into equality, egalitarianism, and communal care for each other, and care for the planet. And so out of that, that's expressed through economics, of course, too. So there is an industry now for socially responsible investing. That means there are entrepreneurs who focus on it's called triple bottom line, like you said. It's in business, in triple bottom line businesses, it is about profit, but the bottom line is shared. It's not just about profit, it's also about the planet and about the people that you work with, who work for you. So that's triple bottom line. Hello. There's food over here, and there's beer in the fridge. Great. Yeah.